Hello and welcome to an update of the Titans. So, if you're wondering what I'm doing here, I removed the lid off of the African Nightcrawler bin. Now this is a 10-gallon bin, and I'm going to relocate these guys to my 14-gallon plastic bin. And here I have already pre-made moistened bedding that's been sitting and I guess cooking is what I'd like to call it, building up microbes and all kinds of microbial activity that the worms love for about 2 weeks. And when we started with these guys, they were in a 4-gallon bin. If you remember, it was the mating game experiment. And then I moved them to this 10-gallon bin. And now I think it's time to move them to the next size up that I have, which is 14. So while I'm harvesting, and you can see that all this material is ready, I have decided that while I was feeding here in this area, the majority of the worms should be here by now. So really all I have to do is carefully remove them from here and place them in their new home, along with any bedding and food that is left over. Because this material has been sitting and building up microbes for them, it is not a sterile environment. They should be happy here. But I am going to feed them so that they're going to be even happier. So let me finish all that, because I can use 2 hands, and then we'll be right back. Okay, so these guys are all in here. You can see there's plenty of material, and they went right down into the bedding. Tells me that they're happy with it. They're not crawling on top, being all anxious. And here is the castings. I'm going to leave the castings in this bin for now. I'm more than positive that there are cocoons in here, and maybe now that all the worms are out, they will start hatching. And I will check on it periodically. I want to make sure that it is moist and that it's aerated, so that if I see any little baby worms in there, I'll be able to pluck them out and put them in this now 14-gallon bin for the African night crawlers. So I'm going to give these guys food, and I'm thinking that I'll just make a pocket here in the center. There's plenty of bedding. I would say that there is about 5 to 6 inches of bedding in here, fresh bedding for them. So they got plenty to work over, and even to put on some size, which is what I'm hoping will happen now that they are in a larger container. And let's see if it makes a difference. They're going to put on some size for me. So if you recall, when I make the bedding, I make it with plenty of oyster shell and eggshell, so I don't need to add any right now. So I'm just going to leave it the way it is and just cover this up, and I'm sure it'll be very, very appetizing for them. Look at this guy go. Yeah, I disturbed you guys, I'm sorry, but I think you'll be plenty happy. There's a lot more room for you to spread out. So let's now see what the European night crawlers are up to. So here are the European night crawlers here in this vermibag tote. And again, they're only here because they tend to be escape artists, and well, this is a great way to still keep them in this smaller container, which is my 10-gallon, but keep them contained. They have plenty of bedding, and this stuff looks good at the bottom, especially nice and composted. I added a lot more moist bedding so that they have plenty of space to move around. Just gives them a greater area. And let's see. I gave them a nice feeding in the center. Looks like they've pretty much finished that. You can see babies right here. And of course, the parents. And of course, you have some young worms. Everything from brand new babies to older worms. But yeah, this stuff, I mean, they've got a lot of stuff to work over. I certainly don't have to worry about giving them bedding. So I'm going to give them some food. I think it was 2 weeks ago that I showed you their last update. And you can see I feed them pretty wet. This bag breathes very well, so it can handle it. Plus, the area that I live in is hot and dry. And even when it's cold in the winter, cold relatively for us, which is 40 degrees, they are in the basement. So it is climate controlled. And we run the heater. So the heater tends to dry things out as well. So giving it plenty of moist bedding and keeping it covered with this bubble wrap tends to keep things comfortable for them. So that's why I do that. If you're located in an area like Florida, you probably won't need to worry about that. So this is how I keep these guys. And they're done. They look good. And I will leave them alone. So that's our update. Thanks for joining me, and we'll see you next time.